Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Fran. In this channel, I make educational videos on healing trauma and everything about mental health. In this video, I wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of people can relate to. But are too ashamed to admit or accept that they are feeling it, because nowadays being happy all the time is some kind of, it's just glorified. Like if you're not happy all the time, you might think there's something wrong with you because everybody seems to be happy all the time. You know, on social media, everybody shares their like highlights of highlights. So you feel like maybe you're the only one who is not normal, who is not happy all the time. But this is a safe space here because I want to encourage human beings to really explore and embrace all of our emotional states, like full spectrum of emotions and feelings, because that's a way how we can live in the world in a more integrated way instead of being cut off from some parts of ourselves. So I wanted to talk about something that has been very confusing for me for years, because I had been having this perpetuating sense of loneliness and isolation. Even though from the outside it appears that I'm this nice person, I appear as very agreeing and caring and sweet. I never confront anyone. I always tend to care for people's feelings and emotions. I tend to be there for people all the time, to a point that I feel like nobody really understands me, and I start to ignore my own feelings and my own sensations. I start to equate my own value with being useful, being sweet, being fitted to the social norms that this is how you should be to be successful, to be considered a good person. And that is something that I've been doing for almost my whole life. Recently, I have been reviewing Pete Walker's book, and I thought it would be a good idea to share this concept from him with you guys, because I think that just describes the state perfectly. It makes so much sense. He uses this phrase, abandonment wound, to describe the state of feeling shame, of feeling fear. In his words, abandonment wound is this death-like feelings of depression. And this is the abandonment wound that he was talking about. So a lot of people might have this question, like, I have never been abandoned. I've never been abandoned by my parents, by my schoolmates, or in adult life. But why do I have this eternal sense of emptiness and isolation inside of me? I still feel like I don't know who I am. I don't have the sense of self. Having all those things in my life, cars, houses, a decent job, money, and travel, vacations, or whatever, but those things don't really make me feel happy, even though that's what other people say, that you should have all those things, right? And I wanted to explain to you, like, you don't have to be actively abandoned to have this abandonment wound. So there are two types of abandonment. The first type of abandonment is what I've been talking about a lot in my channel, where I talk about you may be actively abandoned, maybe you are adopted later in life, you experience this disrupt premature like attachment bond. Maybe when you're 2 years old, your mom left you for a very long time before she reunited with you, or you have been unwanted by the most important people, intimate people in your life, and that's active abandonment. And another type is passive abandonment, and all of which I'm gonna mention has this component of emotional abandonment. That means maybe you have been emotionally neglected by your parents, maybe you have gone through emotional, physical, verbal abuse, or maybe you have been repetitively rejected, shamed, excluded, alienated in social communities, like when you're in school. And all of which can cause this detrimental feeling of being abandoned, of being unwanted. I'm gonna use 5 examples to help you understand what does it mean by passive abandonment that can cause you this abandonment wound. Go back to the earliest age, before the preverbal age, maybe when you're an infant. A lot of parents would believe that letting their child cry out is a good strategy because they think their children are not making sense. But for a baby, that would be the most scary thing, because nobody's responding and the world seems to have abandoned to them. And there's actually scientific study showing that if you leave a baby in the room, I forgot which country did it, it's very cruel. Like, the baby doesn't get responded, and for some time, like, the baby died. When they're not responded, when they have to cry it out themselves to a point that they're desperate, that just creates this eternal sense of unsafety within themselves and towards the external world, like forever, lasting through their adult life. For instance, your parents might try to minimize how you feel, invalidate how you feel, meaning maybe you are sad or you're scared of something, and they'd be like, well, you're over dramatic, why are you so sensitive? You know, you don't have to do that, stop crying, like stop being so scared, stop being such a crybaby or something. When they try to invalidate your internal sensations, you become scared because you don't know who else to turn to soothe your internal feelings, your internal monsters. So you ended up being scared of your own emotions, and also you are scared of other people's emotions. That just paves the way towards you being conflict averse. Another example would be like, maybe you had to fight, and the first instinct was go to your parents, ask for help, right? Because you need them to take your stand, to back you up. But instead, they turn against you. They said, it's your problem. Gradually, you will feel like there's nobody you can turn to for help. You learn to shut down because you know nobody is going to have your back. And that really paves the way towards social anxiety, because you learn that people are not safe. They won't be there to support you when you need them. And the fourth example would be like they reject certain qualities or traits of yours. Maybe you are born very introverted, like you're not that social. You're very spontaneous, you're very creative, you are very active, you know. But in this family that you grew up in, it might not be a quality or style that they applaud. For example, if you're very artsy and spontaneous, when you're born into a military family, everything of you is going to be rejected by them. For families that applaud fame and money, like high social status, if you're someone who is just very low and quiet just to do your own thing and doesn't like being noticed or paid attention to, they may really hate, they may put labels on you. And that can be a really painful experience if you have been rejected by them, if you're not welcomed or accepted by them. And that, I think, has the most detrimental component of abandonment, this connection bond that you lost because of their unacceptance. And the last one would be like if you reach out for connection, if you reach out for intimacy, they constantly reject you and think you're a burden. When I was adopted to my uncle's auntie's family, I would constantly want my auntie to go out shopping with me like other mother would do, because I lost my mom, right? So I really wanted to create this mother and daughter relationship, and I crave for that emotional intimacy. But she constantly rejected me because she wanted to hang out with her friends who are just very high class. You know, they go shopping and they do things that they don't want to drag a child. Especially, I was very dependent on her, and I was rejected over and over again and being called very needy. So I learned to never ask for attention or intimacy or connection. I just learned to shut down and be by myself, and that cost me this feeling of loneliness and isolation. But at the same time, I don't reach out because I'm scared to be rejected or shamed by them again. All of this can result the second type of abandonment, because you have been constantly rejected or shamed or seen as not important, worthless by the external people, external world. You learn to abandon yourself because you think who you are is not accepted, so you have to change. So you have to be more sweeter, you have to be better, you have to have higher scores, be more social, be more aggressive or whatever. Qualities that you believe may cause your parents, the people in your life, to accept you. You blame yourself for not having those qualities, and you believe that's a reason that you are not being welcomed by this family. You are not being valued by your family like they do to your cousins or sisters or whatever. So you start to have this belief that everything about you is wrong, is flawed, and you start to do this self-abandonment. You start to develop this highly judgmental and critical inner voice as a result of the external environment. For example, if constantly your mom tells you that you're such a trouble, you're so sensitive, like you're horrible, like nobody wants to be like you, just change up, you know, stop behaving like this. When they say those things to you, you internalize that part and it becomes your own voice someday. So whenever you do something wrong, whenever you displease someone, whenever you feel like other people might show this disaffection towards you, you start to have this inner voices from yourself like, you are horrible, you need to change up, like you need to stop behaving this way, or they will abandon you, or they will stop liking you, or whatever. You're horrible, like you're defective. So external voices become yours, And because of this highly judgmental and critical inner voice, you dare not to take your own stand. You dare not to be on your own side. So whenever things go wrong, the first reaction you have is to attack yourself, is to develop this mechanism of self-attack and self-shame. And that is the most detrimental elements of this part of self-abandonment, because you need to abandon this real sense of self, who you are. And another consequence is, of course, perfectionism. You believe that as long as I'm this perfect little girl, as long as I achieve to this level in my life, they can finally approve me. I can finally prove them that I have value. So codependents learns to be useful, to be valuable to other people. They learned to hide their true voices and true intentions or emotions to be accepted, to be validated. And I think that's the saddest part of this abandonment wound that I've just talked about, the two types of abandonment. They can all cause us to have this abandonment wound. They can all make us experience this death-like feeling of fear. We're scared of our own emotions or sensations or feelings because we think it's not normal for us to be this happy or be this sad or be this angry. We become afraid of our own feelings. We become afraid of other people's feelings. That's why we always tend to put out the fire, tend to appease people, tend to appease a situation. That is also why we experience this overwhelming sense of shame. The shame that we feel there's something wrong with us. We are defective. We are bad and we are unworthy. Because of those qualities, we're being rejected by our parents. We believe the same thing about us. So we wanted to hide. We retreat to our bubble. We push people away. We find excuses to turn down party invites or any sort of connections. That's why a lot of us have social anxiety, because in those spontaneous occasions where we meet new people, we meet strangers, we really don't know. Like, we actually expect the worst of them. We really don't know if they will take our stand, and there's a risk that our brain just sends out signals to us like, you should avoid it because you're gonna experience this shame, you're gonna feel shitty afterwards, you're gonna be proven over and over again that they don't want you. And lastly, we experience this death-like feeling of depression due to the feeling of being abandoned, like how we felt as a child, like when we're being rejected or shamed by our parents when we need them the most. I remember whenever I go to my mom, I wanted to show her like this cute side of me, just ask for intimacy, ask for attention and stuff. But she's just very depressed and she didn't have the energy to respond to me. She didn't have any time for me because she's so absorbed in her own sad world that she would just, most likely she's very emotionless. She just doesn't show much expression. Till now, in adult life, every time people give me this look when they don't show emotions, I suspect that they are angry with me. They're unhappy with me. They're unsatisfied with me. So workplace is very triggering for me because that's a place where authority figures will show up, right? My leaders, my bosses, when they have this emotionless face or even a little bit annoyed face, the first reaction I have is, oh my god, I did something wrong to upset them. Oh my god, they're gonna fire me. They're gonna say what a horrible person I am. Oh my gosh, I know I suck at this. Nobody wants to keep me in this job. And I would go into this swirl of disastrous imaginations and death-like feelings of anxiety, just like how I felt as a child when I was with my mom, who rarely responds to me with positive emotions or facial expressions. Alright everyone, I hope this video is helpful. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you wanted to see more videos like this, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.